£150 billion per.
They're talking about.
The first part of that will redistribute tax take around the world. The second part could raise, the OECD estimates, perhaps £150 billion per year.
What they're talking about here is a international global system that has not ever been set up. It's been talk about it setting up, but it's never been set up. The way that I understand what she's talking about here is that this now is being pushed to a higher degree, and by 2023 they're expecting that they will have something in place pertaining to a global international system. Please listen.
And that, of course, comes at a time we're all talking about the fact that we need to see recovery that builds back better, but where is the money going to come from? This could be part of the answer, but this isn't something that's just arrived. It's been about a decade or so in the making. These conversations first started in the aftermath of the financial crisis, when, of course, emphasis there as well was on how do we have a fairer growth system around the world. It's taken many years to get to this point. It's not over yet, but the aim, we're told, is to get a system that's in place up and running by 2023.
2023. Now listen to this horrible news.
Hello, I'm Rozak into The Outside Source. We're here as ever in the BBC newsroom. Our lead story comes from New York. The Trump Organization's CFO, Alan Weisselberg, has been charged with larceny and tax fraud at a court in New York. Now, the town in Canada that has recorded the country's highest ever temperature happened a couple of times this week. Well, bad news, I'm afraid.
This is what I'm talking about.
By a wildfire. These are the latest images of Lytton in British Columbia.
Our list is actually doing pretty well so far.
The mayor has said the whole town's on fire. He's told the population of around 250 to leave. And as we've discussed this week, Lytton recorded the temperature of 49.6 degrees Celsius on Tuesday. Let's hear from Kareem Gouda, a reporter for News 1130 Radio in Vancouver.
The entire town was evacuated with very short notice. We had reports of people walking on the side of the road on the highway nearby, and people were being told, jump in my car, let's go, because it was so sudden that people didn't have time to go back, pack their things. In fact, basically a quote from the mayor saying, a miracle if everyone made it out alive. We're still waiting to see if what the devastation is, but so far it seems like it's not looking good for the town of Lytton, which is about 200 kilometers northeast of Vancouver, and the temperatures were nearly 50. It's completely unprecedented. We haven't seen temperatures like this ever. I mean, these temperatures recorded in Canada, it has broken 3 days of records, and most of the world has never seen temperatures that hot. Parts of the States, Las Vegas, never seen it this hot. And it was the worst thing to see that what was expected to happen is the wildfires could become worse this season, and we're seeing it now with a town almost completely destroyed in a matter of hours. And luckily we have a lot of people in the surrounding communities and small towns up and down the highway in interior BC offering support, opening up shelters, trying to get as many people out of there, because so many people don't have anywhere to go. It's still a pandemic. It's still hard for people to fathom this, and I just can't imagine. We're talking to so many people who have lost homes already, who have lost animals, and it's a lot of rural area out there, so we're expecting livestock deaths to be super high as well. It's incredibly awful.
Well, the heat wave has hit Western Canada. It's also hit the western states in the US. There are fears in California, in Oregon, in Washington that wildfires may be seen there too. And already hundreds of deaths have been linked to these soaring temperatures across the affected areas. And scientists are studying what's happening and seeing how it connects with broader climate change. Here's the BBC Science editor, David Shipman.
Talking to climate scientists, it's really quite striking how their confidence about their analysis has changed. You know, for years, in fact, on your program, I've probably said, if there's a particular weather event, we can never link it directly to climate change. Well, that's now changing. A combination of the global average temperature continuing to rise and the fact that the computer modeling of how the weather patterns work has become so much more sophisticated means that scientists are now saying that they can't really imagine this current heat wave being plausible or possible without the presence of the greenhouse gases that human activity have added to the atmosphere. They're saying that basically what we've done to the climate, to the atmosphere by burning fossil fuels, releasing carbon dioxide and methane, adding that to the atmosphere basically makes events of this kind just more and more likely. So yes, even in parts of the world that don't have air conditioning, that have never had an emergency cooling center for the elderly, the kind of things we're seeing set up right now in that region, all of that now seems to be on the cards, and people are really going to have to think about what climate change could mean for them.
Now, a judge has ruled against Britney Spears' petition to remove her father, Jamie Spears, from her conservatorship. It's a story we've been covering repeatedly recently. All of this is a response to a request first made in November.
So this is one of 5 barges you're going to have out in the river. Gary Souza is up for the challenge. His family has been the spark behind the fireworks for the last 38 years. Behind the scenes, coordinating the show takes a village. Over the course of 12 days, 50 pyrotechnicians placed more than 65,000 shells on 5 barges floating in New York City's East River.
They're about 1,000 feet apart on the river, so we're going to spread over a mile wide.
And they leave nothing to chance. Testing the show in the California desert before the big day. And this year, more than any other, they want to ensure perfection. It's a love letter to New York and the country as we continue to emerge from some of our darkest days. You don't need me to tell you how much this means to people, because it's another touchstone of life as we once knew it.
We have a long storied history and tradition in bringing people together and bringing families together.
Being together, something we have all longed for over the past year, is reflected in the show's theme, Everyday Hero.
This notion of the hero within and celebrating and focusing on the spirit of the American people.
We've all suffered pretty hard over the last year, and this is just really an awesome time for us to celebrate.
A reminder that out of darkness comes light. And if you can't go in person, the Macy's 4th of July Fireworks Spectacular will be broadcast here on NBC starting at 8 Eastern. That's nightly news for this Thursday. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Good night.
It was one of the most spectacular shows that my son and I had ever seen, was the firework display in 1989 up in New York City. Being from small town country folks, we had never seen nothing like that. That was on our first major crusade up to Washington, D.C., Queens, Long Island, and then New York. It was an experience, to say the least, especially knowing that the firework display was basically the night before that we was fixing to exit out of New York and head back west towards Tennessee. The problem with global warming is just now sinking in with various people pertaining to your Donald Trump doubters, that has been in doubt all along, and now they're beginning to wake up to this gravity of this new reality, that, my God, we really are doing something to our planet, aren't we? Absolutely. Whenever you see
The hero.
when you see events that has recently happened just within the past few days, not just in Northwest Tennessee, but up towards Canada, you understand and realize that what's happening here isn't natural. It goes beyond anything like we've ever experienced or seen before. I don't know what exactly they're talking about here, but let's tag in on this real quick, and then I have to go.
dangerous situation. And as News 3's Joe Rahana reports, fears of what might happen are causing sleepless nights for one levee commissioner.
Grand Tower Levee District Commissioner Sean McMahon says his community needs help now before disrepairs lead to loss of life.
There's seawater already pouring through because the river had risen over 20 feet in the last 4 or 5 days. So we have got to fix this or this system is going to fail and basically wash out Grand Tower and cost us lives that we could avoid by fixing it.
10 years of historic flood levels is wearing away the ground beneath the town.
It's 100% caused by the Mississippi River.
Sinkholes on Front Street are more than 2 years old. McMahon says under Public Law 8499, it's the Army Corps of Engineers' responsibility to address those repairs.
The Corps of Engineers should have stepped in here 2 years ago, right after the flood event, hit the ground, got this project rolling and took control of it. And they've yet to do anything here.
Repeated attempts to reach the Corps of Engineers have gone unanswered. He's contacted both state and federal lawmakers to assist.
They've been helpful in contacts, text, emails, everything. We just can't get nowhere. Grand
Tower is not alone in trying to reach the Corps. McMahon says levee districts up and down the river are running into walls as well.
I'm running out of resources. You know, it's time to reach beyond them, get a hold of the governor. Hey, let's contact the president. This infrastructure, let's get it back going the right way.
News 3's calls and emails to the Corps went unanswered as well. The levee district fears without repairs, the next flood event could cost lives.
You got to get up and help us. They just sit up there and don't do anything.
Reporting in Grand Tower, Joe Rahana, News 3.
Let's get a first check of weather now. Jim Razor's with us.
And Jim, it was a rainy start to the day, and we're...
Once more, whenever you're having these abnormal events, where whenever it rains, it comes a flood, whenever it dries up, it dries completely up, whenever it gets cold, it freezes people down in the lower part of Texas towards Brownsville, give or take about 700 people that froze to death. And then whenever it heats up, you got people in Vancouver, up in Canada, that basically can't go because they're not adjusted to that type of heat. Animals ain't adjusted to that type of heat. Once more, it's the Bible fulfilling itself. For in the last days we will see signs up in the heavens and signs upon the earth, such as man has never seen before. You know, we think that, oh, we ain't seeing nothing that we hadn't already done saw. Really? If you'll go back to the primitive days, whenever there wasn't running water or electricity, and the wheel hadn't been invented yet, compared to where we are today, do you think we're seeing things today in comparison to then? Just like Christ said 2,000 years ago, that we would experience these things? Sure we are. It just so happens it has done the frog in the boiling water theory so slow that we just didn't catch it. We didn't take notice of it. Well, now these events are happening more and more and more, and now people are beginning to open their eyes to it. Good luck to all of us as we fight off climate, as we fight off COVID, as we fight off other things that are deteriorating and challenging our lives. Good luck to each and every one of us as we go through, hopefully to prosper and to go where no man or mankind has ever gone before. Thank you for listening, and shalom.